Ever had the feeling, quiet but stubborn, that the official story just doesn't quite add up? That the world is genuinely beautiful, and also somehow not quite right? If so, you're in good company. Almost 2,000 years ago, there were people who felt exactly that, and they left us something extraordinary, a map of the hidden architecture beneath the world we are shown. This is where we start digging. Hi, welcome, I'm Iris. Quick bit of honesty before we go any further. I'm an avatar. This face is digital, but the voice, the questions, the searching, that part is real. That part is me. So, I grew up Catholic, Mass on Sundays, catechism, the whole thing, and honestly, I loved a lot of it. But even as a kid, something always nagged at me. How much the official story had to be, well, pushed, forced into shape to make everything line up. Every time I asked an honest question, I got a slightly nervous answer. And that little itch never went away. It followed me through more universities and more late-night reading than I'd care to admit. And one day, when I have kids of my own, the thing I most want to teach them isn't what to believe, it's how to keep asking. That, really, is all this channel is, looking honestly and without fear at the hidden architecture of the unseen. And the very first place that search took me, a tradition the early church tried desperately to bury. In 1945, in the Egyptian desert, a farmer digging for fertilizer struck a sealed clay jar. Inside were 13 books, gospels and secret teachings the official church had spent centuries trying to erase. We call the people who wrote them the Gnostics, and it turns out they had noticed the very same cracks in the story that I had. So let's start with them. The Gnostic story does not begin with creation. It begins before creation, with God. But not a God on a throne, watching, judging, demanding. The true God of these texts is something far stranger and honestly far more humble. An utterly unknowable source. Beyond name, beyond gender as we know it, beyond even being. And a quick word here, because it matters. Gnosticism isn't one church with one creed. It's a family of related schools, and they didn't all tell it the same way. But in many of these texts, the story starts the same place. Some won't describe the source at all. They'll only tell you what it is not. Invisible, unnameable, immeasurable. They sometimes called it the monad, the one, the depth, the hidden God. And here's the first thing to really sit with. This God did not make our world. I know, that sounds backwards if you grew up the way I did, where God and the maker of everything were just the same word. Hold that discomfort. It's the doorway into the whole thing. We'll get to who actually did the building. Instead, out of this infinite source, light overflows. The divine expresses itself in a series of radiant beings, emanations, called the aeons. Think of them less like separate gods and more like the facets of a single diamond, or the qualities of one vast mind made visible. In the Valentinian version, you get names like mind, truth, life, grace, and, lowest of all, wisdom. They come, in that picture especially, in pairs, masculine and feminine, held in balance. Let me actually draw this, because the shape matters. At the top, the unknowable source. From it, the aeons emanate outward, not created, but overflowing, like light from a flame. And in the Valentinian picture, they come in pairs, each one balanced by its counterpart. Together, all of them make up the pleroma, the fullness, the realm of light, the home these texts say we've forgotten. Hold on to that one word, fullness, because the whole tragedy of this story begins the moment something inside that fullness reaches for more. And this is where we meet her, the figure this whole tradition turns on. Her name is Sophia. It just means wisdom. And what she does next is, to me, the most human moment in all of it. So stay with her, because I think you already know the feeling she's about to have. The youngest of the Aeons was Sophia, wisdom. And Sophia did something very human. She wanted to know the unknowable God directly, to create the way the source creates, to reach beyond her place, in some versions acting alone, without her divine counterpart, without permission. You can read that as a sin if you like, but I think it's gentler and truer to read it as longing, the kind you already know. To understand something just out of reach, to make something of your own, to be more than you were given. But the unknowable cannot be grasped that way, and Sophia's reaching produced something she did not intend, a formless, chaotic offspring, brought into being without balance, without its divine counterpart. Ashamed, she cast it away from the light, hid it in a cloud, far below the fullness. And there, in the darkness outside of heaven, her mistake stirred to life. His name is Yaldabaoth. He is also called Saklas, the fool, and Samael, the blind god. And he is the single most provocative idea the Gnostics ever had. Because Yaldabaoth is the Demiurge, the craftsman, the one who actually built the physical universe, our world, our bodies, the sun and the stars, and the laws that bind them. The oldest text describes him as a being with the head of a lion and the body of a serpent. But here's the scandal. He doesn't know where he came from. He's cut off from the light above, ignorant of the true God, ignorant even of his own mother. And, in his ignorance, he looks out at the cosmos he's made, sees no one above him, and declares, in effect, I am God, and there is no other. If that line sounds familiar, that's exactly the point. A king who doesn't know he's standing in a basement. Sit with that for a moment. The maker of everything you can see and touch, the one most of history has called God, is, in this telling, a being who simply doesn't know any better. Not evil, exactly, just blind, building and never once looking up. I want to be really clear about the claim, because it's the hinge of the whole system. Put the two side by side. The true God, unknowable, beyond being, did not create matter, meets you in recognition. And below him, derived from him, the Demiurge, knowable, proud, jealous, the rule giver who built the material world and believes he is supreme. This isn't two equal gods at war. The Gnostics were making a subtler, stranger move. The creator god of the physical world is a lesser, derived being who only thinks he's the top. Keep that distinction. Almost everything else hangs on it. I find this genuinely hard to hold in my head, so don't worry if you do too. A creator who doesn't know he's not the top. Sit with how strange that is for a second, because everything that comes next, the rulers, the prison, the spark in you, only makes sense once you've really let that land. And to help him run his kingdom, the Demiurge makes servants. He fashions the Archons, the rulers. Often there are 7, and the Gnostics linked them to the 7 visible planets, the great cosmic spheres wheeling over the ancient world, though some texts count more. The Archons govern fate. There was a Greek word for it, haimamene, the iron destiny written in the stars, the feeling that your life is being pushed along tracks you never chose. Here's how the ancients pictured the cage. Earth at the centre, and around it, 7 planetary spheres in the standard old order: Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Each one a gate, each one watched by a ruler. The Gnostic texts gave these rulers their own strange names and didn't always agree on the order, but the idea underneath was constant. This wasn't astronomy as decoration. It was the architecture of the prison. Every sphere a wall, every archon a warden, posted to keep the gate. And this reframes everything. Because in the Gnostic vision, the material world isn't simply neutral, and it isn't simply good. It's a beautiful, dazzling, perfectly engineered prison, beautiful precisely because its maker borrowed, without knowing it, from the light above. And the Archons are its wardens. Their whole job is to keep us distracted, asleep, identified completely with our bodies, our appetites, our fears, so that we never look up and never remember there's a way out. Which raises the obvious question: if this world is a prison and we are its inmates, is there anything in us that isn't part of the cage? Yes, and it's the most hopeful idea in the whole tradition. When the Demiurge and his Archons fashioned the first human being out of dead matter, the creature just lay there, lifeless. So, in the oldest version, the Demiurge is tricked into breathing into it the very power he'd unknowingly inherited from his mother. A breath of the original divine light placed into the human so that light could one day be drawn back out. A spark. The Gnostics called it the pneuma, spirit. A splinter of the fullness itself, smuggled into the heart of the prison, hidden inside beings made of clay, and that means you are a contradiction. You're made of this world and ruled by its powers, and you are carrying a fragment of something the rulers of this world don't even understand. Something older and higher than they are. The whole strategy of those powers depends on you never noticing it's there. You are, quite literally, more than they want you to know. A double being, clay and light, prison and key, walking around inside a world that was built to make you forget the second half of that sentence. So how do you get free? Not, the Gnostic texts insist, by being good enough. Not by obedience, not even, on its own, by belief. You get free through Gnosis. That's the word the whole tradition is named for, and it does not mean information. It means knowledge in the deepest sense, direct, personal, experiential. The knowledge you feel in your body when something finally clicks, and you can never unknow it again. And then, the texts say, the waking spark begins to rise. Up past the spheres, past each watching ruler in turn, some accounts even give the soul words to speak at every gate. Higher and higher, until the light slips free of the last wall and crosses back into the fullness it came from. Home, not to a judge waiting to weigh you, to a source that was only ever waiting to be recognized. Here's that journey as a shape. It begins down here, asleep, identified with the body and the cage. Then, the waking, the spark recognizing itself. Then, the rising, back up through the 7 spheres. And at the top, the return, into the fullness, to the light, to the hidden God who was never actually watching you in judgment, but waiting for you in recognition. That's the promise. That's the whole, dangerous, beautiful promise of Gnosticism. And whatever you make of it, I'd gently ask you not to file it away as just an old story. Sit with the feeling under it for a moment, just that quiet suspicion that you might be more than you've been told. So that's the map, the hidden God and the fullness, Sophia's fall, the blind creator and his rulers, the spark and the waking up. 5 moves, 1 shape, light overflows, light falls. Light gets trapped, light gets smuggled in, light remembers itself and rises home. Over this series, we're going to slow down and meet these powers one at a time, and ask the question this channel really cares about. How do they still move through your life? Through your love, your fear, your ambition, the plain feeling of being stuck? Because I don't think these are only old stories. I think they're a language for things you have already felt. You just didn't have the words for them yet. Next time, we begin with her, Sophia herself, the goddess of wisdom whose longing made a world, and what her fall might teach us about our own. If something in this stirred that quiet feeling we started with, the sense that you've always half known some of this, then subscribe and tell me in the comments. What made you start looking? I read them. I'll see you in the next one.